Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember the question. The question is, if we give you the exam questions, right? What you are expecting to write? So there will be some type of questions. One type of question you would ask to write is the whole functions, and others, what we would provide is like the. Let me see if I have any of it. Maze. How about using Maze? Okay, so these questions, right? Traverse 2, let me remove traverse 2. For this kind of questions, we would provide the main functions, everything in the main functions. You are expected to implement everything in the traverse functions. You need to write in your pen, right, instead of typing in your computers. These are the programming questions. We also have questions about giving you a piece of code. You need to write down what's the output. You are mimicking, you are the machine, right? Executing line by line. There's another type of questions. We also have another type of questions is a multiple choice. So multiple choice in Chinese is not 多选题, it's a 单选题, right? Multiple choice, you only have one correct answer. It's called a multiple choice questions. You have multiple choice, but you have one correct answer. So we have first is multiple choice, then output the correct output, then writing code by hand. Right. But the time is actually the number of questions are not so many questions. I have tried maybe finishing. No, all right. I don't want to tell you how fast I finish. Yeah, but I believe some of you, if you have a good programming foundations, you could finish within half an hour or so. So the code the number of questions are very small. All right. But sometimes you need to read the questions. The question is still written in English, right? You need to tolerate that. Any more questions? Even allow you to ask in Chinese, you don't have questions. It's not a problem of language. How hard it will be? Yeah, it really depends, right? Depends on people, right? Like I said, someone could finish maybe in half an hour, 20 minutes. Some of you may take the whole 1.5 hours. Yes.
Are there any implications of the methods of solution? For example, if you want to reuse record or some
we will ask you to write, for example, for this kind of questions, right? I will ask you to write a recursive version, then an iterative version. I could specify that. Yes. Okay. How we grade the inject? Okay, yeah. How we grade? So multiple choice questions grading will be very easy, right? Plus A, B, C, D, we see which one is good. And for the programming questions, it's actually very hard to grade because the TAs need to really calculate about your thinking process. Are they correct? Are they not correct? And there are hundreds of you. So it will take them some time to read it. And we will give, for example, some grades, partial grades if your thinking process is correct, even though you have making some minor typos, it will be fine. Right? Don't pay too much attention on some of the problems. But some of the, for example, the edge cases, if you don't write, for example, if I forget about the case when it's equals to W, then some partial grade will be deducted, right? Yeah. So yes, actually.
What's the nearest standard of the
Nearest standard. I give you the wait a minute.
for example, C++.
I will give you the headers.
But some methods, such as vectors,
Yeah, you can use every method in your brackets if you can
not
remember.
defined before C++.
Yeah.
Such as int. Method of
Yeah, you can use that. You can use any functions you can remember if it's in vectors. But trust me, the only thing you need to know is the simplest one, right? The simplest one will work. And this one, I never use any of the new functions. In most of my code, I would like to use the simplest ones. Yes. Yeah, I said this kind of minor typos we could tolerate that. We would tolerate that, right? Any more questions? Yes.
There is not that they mad.
Okay. So CC map. Then you remember it. Actually, you don't need that kind of libraries, right? Most of the libraries, if you think some of the common methods you could use, then use them. Some of the weird methods I never talked about that, don't use them. That's the rule. Most of the functions you will use are already seen in lectures. All right, so there will be no something that's out of something I have talked about. Yes. There will be no language helper. There will be no language helper. You need to understand the questions by yourself. But most of them we have provided simple samples, for example, to help you understand it. But yeah, you need to, you are on your own, all right? You are on your own. Yes.
There's a level of difficulty in labs. Is that what we would expect for all the questions of labs? Just kind of that level of difficulty, and in the examples provided, so should we be able to solve like the clean question recursion? Is it that level, or
It's very hard to say what kind of levels, right?
I mean,
Do we think this one is too difficult or?
Yeah.
No, the initial version is not like this, right? I don't need to write it down. It's only 3 lines, right? If you guys can remember, there's only 3 lines of code here.
I write it.
Yeah. So there will be some recursion questions, but it's very hard to say compared to this one, which is other. It's very hard to do that. But the more important thing is you need to have some thinking process, right? If I given this kind of questions, what is my thinking process? But not all the questions are like this, right? Only one question is recursion. Another question, I don't remember. But only one question is about recursion.
How many points?
How many points? So we give total of 100 points, right? So recursion questions, maybe 20. Yeah.
That's
How many problems? How many problems in class?
how many problems? Every problem have some problems. How many problems? Maybe I don't know, maybe 10 or more. A little bit around that. I'm including the multiple choice questions, right? We have 5 multiple choice questions. Even if you don't know, you can write A, B, C, D. If I'm working, it's yeah. We have 5 of that questions.
You don't have the time in memory.
Yeah, we don't have time limits, memory limits. So, yeah. But if you run like this, it will be correct. We don't have time limit for that. Yes. Pardon? How many test cases do we provide? Let me see. Maybe 2. Because the exam paper page are limited, we cannot put so many examples there. But when you read that questions, you will know. All right. Any more questions?
I'm wondering the using of functions. It's like the same code. If I use multiple functions to separate different process and or doing the whole things in the same main functions, will always go differently. We same also.
Actually, I put some hints in the papers, like the length of the functions. You kind of know how can we organize the functions. Yes. 也是指8页左右，我们材料是可以有。We can provide a structure. Yeah. Yeah. TAs will just read your code. They don't have time to type into the English and check if it's correct. And you will have the opportunity to more grading, right? If you think the case might get some errors, right? There will be so many code. It is possible. Yeah. Try your best. At least for that question, right? For the maze, at least put 1 or 2 lines of comments.
So there won't be any line and page.
Pages. You don't have I think it's English. Because one of our TAs for grading is not Chinese. You don't know? The TAs, one of the TA, you don't know which problem is graded by him. Yeah, he don't read Chinese, all right. So try your best. This TA. So these 2 TAs will grade your homework and also the exams. This one can read Chinese, this one don't. You don't know which one will be assigned to him, right? He has Chinese. We are separating based on the questions. Some of the questions will be graded by him, some of the questions will be graded by him. So it's separating the workloads.
I have a problem with class. It's like if we want to append methods to class, is there only available for me to just declare your methods and then implement my defined class? I can just append new methods to class in the main function.
Yeah. We usually don't do that in many functions. We don't declare functions in many functions. But it's fine, you put implementations in class declarations. It's fine to do that.
I remember that you said that you have a project to do after 3 years. Can you talk about more project?
Okay, so actually I can talk a little bit about homework 2 as well. We are still developing projects. So homework 2, one of them will be still the boring things as homework 1, right? Putting something in the command and output something we compared with the correct output. But for another, we have 2 questions in homework 2. One is that, another one will be asking you to implement something in Qt. We will introduce what is Qt by next professor. So this will be my last lecture for you guys. So after this week, starting from next week, Professor Liu will give you the lectures, and he will introduce something about Qt's. So Qt's, what's the beauty of Qt is you can design something interactive, right? Like the play chess in Qt. But most of the code will be provided to you. You only need to implement some part of it. But after you finish it, you can play chess, right, with other people or play chess with computers. If in the future you guys learn machine learning, you can implement some machine learning strategies into it, and then you can play chess. Something like that. But homework 2 will be the starting point for that. And project we are still thinking, but most likely it will be still based on Qt, right? So that you guys can have some meaningful projects. Any more questions?
Can you put some more sample questions? Like you don't have to give the answer. It's just like things.
Okay, let's make quickly a simple question about that.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Something else.
Something else? Something else? I give you some code, it gives you the output.
Yeah.
Okay. This one? Okay. Let me see if I have one. If there's anything that's in here,
We can put it in the discussion so we can kind of work on it.
no, I don't want to do that. Maybe in the future, right? We can put some example, but this time no. But these are very basic things that reading code and getting the output in mind. That's some basic skills a programmer should have.
However, looking at that, or our question in the lab, that it's hard to don't sit past like the maths. Can we give standard answers for us?
For lab questions,
Yeah.
I believe they provide. Yeah, inside OJ, right? Inside OJ, lab 1, lab 2, lab 3. But they like the maze. Actually, I don't like the styles they write, but the function I believe is correct. Right. So they have. Yeah, they have almost everything that's needed. That's the answer for that. If I would write, right? If I would write for the maze, I would write that in 3 lines, like the ones you have seen before. But it's okay to write in this style, the styles in the discussion, or any styles, as long as the functionalities are correct. Any more questions? Homework, do you have question about homework 1? Determining base, how about that? I remember I have already talked about the 3rd question of homework 1, right? So how about determining base? If you are asked to write a function for determining base, how to write that? Since you guys don't have questions, let me see if I can determine base. Right. What I would typically write is okay, I need a function. I need a function that returns bool. And let me call it is valid. Right, I have a number. Is it a number or something? A number P, a number Q, and a number product, and a number base. I cannot remember correctly if this is the case, right? If this is the, I would write some functions like this, so that in another function, for example, in another function, I would return base, right? I would return base, and in this function, what I need is just a for loop, right? I could for loop to try I from maybe 3. I just give it a random number, I less than, for example, 16, and I plus plus. What I would do is I would call this function is valid of P, Q product and this base I, right? It's actually not this. I would return this one as my base. If this is the case, then I would return my base, right? This is the function I would write. Of course, I need PQ and product. Int P, int Q, int product, right? So this is more about how you would making the questions smaller and smaller. If I have such a function, I would write something like this. Then after writing this, you get partial grade. All right. And that, even though I'm meaning about the exam, right? Not about homework. We will test based on input and output. For exam, if you write something like this, you get a partial grade. Then how about implementing this one, right? Implementing this one, you would say, okay, I would return something that if I convert my current P based on base times convert my current Q based on base equals convert my current product into a base. I'm done, right? If somehow I have a function that can convert P based on base, get some values, and then multiply by this equals to this equal to product, then it means this base is a valid base for these equations, right? After this is done, you got 2/3 of your points, right? Even though your convert function return is wrong or you didn't implement that, it's okay. How about doing the remaining work, right? Maybe the hardest one is convert, right? I don't know. Convert your integer a number based on a base, right? How can we convert it into a decimal number? Right? You need to separate out the P into 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So what you can do is, how about I split them? So the first question is, how can we split, right? So we have a for loop, or maybe a while loop. A while loop, P is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, we can get the last digits of P. Right? We can say int, the last digits would be P mod 10. Right? Then we can get them one by one. or you can save them in a vector so that the code will be much clearer. Let's do that. If we try to make questions much more simpler, right? Don't mix everything together. So what if we can convert something split? Okay, let me call it a split. An integer into different digits, right? How can we do that? We can have a factor of int called digits. And yeah, let me put this one up. You have the last one. You can push back into our vector. Push back. Digits dot push back of your last, right? And each time p equals p divided by 10. And here you can return digits. Maybe reverse order, maybe the same order, it doesn't matter, right? This function, you can split some integer. Right, let me put a p here. How can we write a convert? It's much easier, right? Each time times p times base, then plus n times base, then plus. These are the basic process of tackling a complex problems, right? Making them smaller, simpler, and simpler, and simpler. Initially, you think, okay, this is so complex problem, but you will say, what if I have is variant functions, right? I can simplify the question into this one, and this is a smaller functions, right? These small functions could be implemented using another function called convert, right? But in convert, we need every digits of p. How can we do that? We can implement another function called split. So then we can split them one by one. And how can we combine them using base? You guys can do that. Okay? So these are the thinking process of programming. Programming are basically splitting the complex problems into smaller and smaller and smaller ones. And in the future, if you have larger projects, like some of the functions just giving to another guy help you to implement, and you are responsible for implementing some part of it. Then you guys combine, boom, problem solved, right? Any questions? Remember, yeah.
What if I use some functions? We didn't study, but defined in our stream.
Okay, so yeah, that's a tricky question, but basically we will give you full grade as long as your functions are correct. Yeah, although we don't encourage that because we still want you to practice something like that. But if you have a function that can directly convert p based on base, right? What's the point of implementing another one, right? But anyway, both sides are okay. You can use the traditional way. You can use the new functions defined in some standard libraries. Any more questions? Yeah.
If we our outcome is the base equal to 7, and should we pay attention to that in the maybe in P or Q, every number in every digit should less than 7?
Yeah, that's something you can do in here, right? In the base or in here is also fine. After getting the maybe not here, maybe in the beginning, right? When you loop I equal to 3 or 4 or 5, you can decide what should be the start position for I. You can loop. If there's a 7 in P, it means you could start with 8, right? From 8 until, for example, 16, and so on. But it's just a minor change in your code. Any more questions? That's about homework. I believe homework 1 is easier, right? Everyone can do that, right? Homework 1. The first question, right? That one is easy, right? No? I'm smiling. Why are you smiling? Okay, let me try the first one. Okay, second largest. That one, what should I say? It don't require any of the modularization issues. It's just reading a bunch of all right, let's say I don't remember what's the exact question, but assuming they provide you with the number of integers they have, right? You can see in your next input, let it be n. Anyway, and you want to see what's the, okay, let me first do the simplest one, right? How can we get the largest one? How can we get the largest one? Let me first give it to a very small number. I don't believe in the libraries, what's that called? But another way is you can see in first, right? You can see in first. Then you can assign largest to be n. Then starting from the second one, you see in, and if the new one is greater than your largest one, your n becomes the largest. No, reverse side. Largest becomes the n. Right? This is how you can find the largest one. How can you find the second largest one? We can say the second largest one, it cannot be n. Yeah. But so I would introduce first the typical way of how programming does is typically I don't remember the libraries, but we would have something like int of the minimum number. I don't remember how to write it, but I just randomly write it. Okay, what's the minimum number in an integer? They would assign to it. Or if you know the range of your numbers, you can say if all of them are just some number greater than 0, then you can put -1 here, right? Let's say -1. Let's assume every number is greater than 0. If not, you can put int min here, right? You can have a largest one, and also if current one becomes the largest one, the old largest one becomes the second largest one. Right? You're done. Something like that. I forgot about the brace.
How do we switch the two lines, right? Second, well, right now they're both pointing. We need first do second equal largest and then largest.
Oh, yes, that's correct. Let me see. Largest becomes n, then second one becomes largest. Wait, pardon, what's your problem?
The line, right?
Oh, switch the line. Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to be the same number.
Yes, because they will forget. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's basically the code. Right? That's about question 1. That's also why I don't want to talk about it, because it has nothing to do with the modularization issues. This one will be better if you want to tackle the hard problems. And the maze problem will be a very good example how you can think recursively from a kind of position to next position and so on.
就是其实，在考我们递归这些东西的时候，考的并不是我们算法，考的是我懂这个东西没有。
对，
也就是说，虽然说我算法很烂，可能
对
最后会 TLE，会 MLE，但
对
是，只要我懂得
没错
conclusion，助教就会给分。
是的，
然后就是，比如说你在已经 include vector 情况下，比如说我习惯用 array，我可以用 array 吗。
就是你喜欢用那种，
对，我习惯用 array，因为 array 也比较快。
但大部分情况下我都是提供给你们这个 main 函数的。
所以说
应该是
在
你
调用的时候就是用的 vector。
对，应该你是不行
好，
的。
所以要突击 vector。
对，学一下 vector。
这个 makefile 这个东西，当时展示那个例子是直接 make 就跳出来了这么多行东西。
对对对，它其
但是
实就是
我想知道它怎么让它 make 直接跳出来这么多，而不是跳出其他的东西。对，
就是如果你 makefile 写成这样子，它就跳出这一行；如果
所
makefile
以是我学的
写成这样子，
makefile 怎么写？
对，关键是在于你 makefile 怎么写。
makefile 是
makefile 就是一个编译的指令而已。你把编译的指令全部放在一起，下回不用 type。
然后还有一个你那个你那里，
哎呀，我靠，我关掉了。
你关掉了。
哦，是你那个PPT，就是这一节课的 PPT 的第9页。
第9页是吧？
第9页，它有一个 Enon 的那个。
哦，我要找到了。
enum 是在很早以前第2堂课的时候讲过的。
不是，就是前面有个例子，这
啊，对对对，
看不懂这个例子。
对，这个例子比较难懂，因为它有个 union。union 代表这2个数 int v 和 double v 只能存在一个。
对，
但是我存在哪一个，你必须告诉我存在哪一个。我用一个 enum 来代表它存在哪一个。如果是 int t，代表它存在 int v；如果存在 double t，那么它就存在 double v。
那这怎么判？
这个是由于你写代码的人写进去，不是由于。
这还没有写，这只是代表这个意思。
对，就有一种可能是 int v 的时候 double v 在，有可能，就看你 implement 的时候怎么去 implement。你尽量 follow 这个，你自己定义。
思维并不是
定义我还没写。
那下面这个又在，
这个是一个 switch 对吧 ？switch 如果说它的 sample type 是一个 int type 的话，那么你就可以读它的 int v； 如果它是个 double type 的话，你就读它的 double v。是这样子。对。
get
我也 get，
这样想。
我刚还想问，就是我就是在这儿函数加一个 const， 它的意思是不会改变函数的定义，就是
不是定义，是自身的 member。
自身的
member。
比如说，
好，那个怎么说哈？这里可能没有显示出来，我看我这里有没有别的。
我问了 GPT 啊，我问了。
就是这里我有没有 const？ 应该有这个 const。这个 const 意味着这个函数本身你在调用的时候是不会改变它的 name 和 price 和 score。这个 const 代表是我不会改变当前 object 的所有的 members， 这是当前 object 的 member。这个 const 加在这里，或者这个 print 加在这里，就我只是 print name price score， 我不会去变化 name price score。
那和这个 const，
这个 const 是指我不会改变 B 里面的 name price score。
这个就是表示整个函数都没有。
对，这个 const 代表我不会改变当前 object 的那个。当前 object 谁调用这个函数，我就不会改变它的 name price score。总会有一个 object 调用这个函数的。
对的。
比如说 A 点 is better than B。
是的。
那么这个 const 代表 A 的东西不会变，这个 const 代表 B 的东西不会变。
但是函数的定义不本来就是这样的，就我不加这个 const A 点 is better than， 它里面的那个 object 其实也不会改变。
你可以允许它改变 name price 和 score。
就是我可以后面对允许。
对，比如说这个 read 它没有 const， 那么在 read 的时候我就可以变化 name price 和 score。
我明白了。OK， 错。那个指针这个就是在
OK，
我还是很疑惑，这个是在干嘛？
我看不懂。他说多个源文件中都需要使用这个头文件，就会出现重复定义的问题。
对，这个是我这个 product 点 h 文件哈。然后我给你看一下我的 product 点 cpp 文件，这个文件里面我 include 了一次。
对
啊，我还有一个文件是
，shop
shop，我这里也定义了一遍这个。
对，
然后你再看我的那个 make file。好，make file，我 product 点 cpp 我用了一遍 product 点 h 对吧
对，
？shop 又用了一遍product 点 h 对吧？那么在这条compiler 在 compile 的时候，它会 compile 一遍 product 点 h。
对，
这条指令的时候，我会 compile 第2遍 product 点 h。这个会第3遍 compile product 点 h。
对，
它就会重复定义。哎，这个不是 product 点 h，product 点 h 是那个，是这个对吧？它会重复定义 class product。我们可以试一遍。我把它删掉，把 NF 删掉，保存 ，compile 一下。redefinition of class product 就是我 product 已经在点 H 里面跑过了，compile 过了。
相当于我写了2个 class product。
对，是的，就会有个重复定义的问题。
那我写在哪里可以避免这个问题？
啊，就是这里，
写在
头上。
写他自己的头上是吧？
就这个点 H 文件的头上，它的意思是什么呢？如果我定义过这个变量了，那么你就不要再定义变量了。如果我没有定义过这个变量，我才定义这个变量，然后开始做下面的事情。比如说我第1次 compile 以后，这个变量就会被定义。第2次 compile 的时候，第2行 compile 的时候，因为这个变量已经被定义过了，第1条就不对了，那么它就永远不会再编译一遍。
但是为什么它的名字不是主要的？
这个名字没有关系，你叫它 A 也可以 ，B 也可以，C 也可以。
这个名字就
这个只是一个 compiler 的一个里面定义了一个变量名而已。你可以叫它 P， 可以叫它 Q。
那我怎么把它和 product 联系起来？
因为你放在这个文件里面，对不对？
哦，
你可以叫它 product， 可以叫它 P， 可以叫它 Q， 都可以。
明白。
对。
然后还有那个 default constructor， 我一定要每次都定义 class 的时候都要写吗？我觉得
可以不写，可
以不写，因为
编译器会自动给
你，
对，会自动给你写，对的。
好的，对。
我对于那个 makefile 还是比较有疑问，就是它这些就是比如说这个后面这些到底是什么意思？
就是如果你什么都不打，就是 make 可以这样子打，你除了 make 以外，你还可以 make shop 这样子打，这样子也可以。
像他的意思是说，我是把所有的这些点 cpp 或者点 h 的文件都放在 shop 这个目录里下面。
不是，就是product 的这个 binary 呢是由这几个生成的，这是你告诉别人。shop 这个 binary 这个可执行文件是由这条指令执行，你可以定义其他的，比如说你可以定义一个，可以叫它一个，比如说 sh， 我可以。
那这里呢？这里不是
这里我比如说先不变哈，先不变，我先定义了2个 binary，一个 binary 叫 shop，一个 binary 叫 sh。我可以在那个，把它退出一下，先把它 clean 掉。not remove shop 不存在嘛？比如说 make， 我 make 的时候，你看到它只执行了 make shop。如果你想执行 sh， 就是要这样子打，我会形成一个新的这里我可能里面名字没改，它就会执行这条指令。我在这儿打吧。
就是说 make 后面跟的就是它的指令，
就是它的 target， 这个叫做 target。你要生成什么 binary？你要生成这个 binary， 它就运行这一行。如果你要生成这个 binary， 它就生成这一行。它就运行这一行。运行这一行。所以你看到，你可以 make 是干什么的 ？make 其实执行的是 all 后面的事情。就是我要运行生成所有的 shop， 但我没有叫它生成 sh，所以它就不会生成 sh。你看，如果你要生成 sh， 你就可以写 make sh， 它就会在 ssh 后面去找这个 command 是什么，它就会运行这个 command。它就会放在这里。
然后这些 command 又会对应到这些里。
对，因为
那这个点 o 文件，它就是说会把点 h， 因为点 h 里面只写了 decoration，然后点 cpp 写了 definition， 它就会可以连。
对，
这个点 o 就是把它们联系在一起，只有这么编译一遍之后，我才能够真正的在我其他的 main 函数里面去引用它。
是的。
那也就是说，我也可以就是说我在一个点 h 里面写很多个
可以
很多个
可以写很多的
declaration，然后由
class，
不同的 CPP 来引用它也是可以的。
也是可以的，是的。
哦，那还有就是这些文件放的目录有什么要求吗？他们一定要放在，就是和 makefile 文件一定要放在同一个目录下吗？
Makefile 其实也不一定要同一个目录，你可以指定，比如说这个 CPP 在哪里，你可以指定，比如说叫做 source 点 CPP，source 里面的一个，
哦，可以
然后你就可以
可以写，
对写路径，路径可以全部加那个地方。
可以写上去是吧？
对
如果没有写的话，就默认要在同一个路
对
径。
没有写的话就默认在同一个路径上面。